What if the very foods you believe are helping you, or at least aren't harming you, are actually stealing your future? Imagine standing at the threshold of your golden years, vibrant and energetic, capable of pursuing every dream, free from the heavy chains of fatigue, memory fog, and declining health. Now imagine a different path, where subtle daily choices unwittingly push you towards a future clouded by frailty and chronic disease. The truth is, most of us, especially as we mature, are falling into dietary traps that rapidly erode our most precious assets, our muscle, our sharp minds, and our metabolic stability. But here's the powerful, hopeful secret. A profound shift in these very same daily choices can utterly transform your aging trajectory, bringing more clarity, strength, and vibrant independence than you might ever believe possible. It's not about complex diets or endless restrictions. It's about discerning simple foundational foods that, like the wisdom of a mindful practitioner, build profound resilience from within. This isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years, unlocking a level of vitality you may have thought was out of reach. Are you ready to discover the precise dietary strategies and specific foods that can quite literally reshape your biological future, preserving not just your physical strength, but your mental sharpness and your very independence? Because for seniors striving for optimized longevity, to safeguard muscle, stabilize energy, and master the intricate dance of metabolic health by sidestepping the hidden dangers of modern carbohydrates and sugar, understanding these shifts is not just beneficial, it is utterly transformative. What we genuinely need isn't more complexity. It's a direct, deeply effective strategy to minimize those wild swings in blood sugar, to powerfully support the retention of precious lean muscle, and to boost the very energy engines within our cells. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share isn't just food advice. It's a blueprint for enduring strength and clarity, straight from insights informed by a deeply practical, profound approach to well-being. When we talk about genuinely optimizing our nutrition for longevity, particularly for those of us navigating the journey of aging, the conversation must always steer towards true simplicity and impact. What foods exactly possess the power to truly move the needle in terms of extending both our healthy years and our overall lifespan? What gives us the absolute highest return on investment, the most value per calorie, per gram of protein, per unit of vital micronutrient density? Too often, people instinctively chase the latest exotic superfood or complex supplement trend, hoping for a magical solution. Yet, the profound answers frequently lie in far humbler, overlooked foods. Foods that have stood the test of time, proving their worth biochemically, physiologically, and practically. Today, we delve into 7 such nutritional cornerstones that are not just good for you, but are strategic pillars for anyone dedicated to defying conventional aging paradigms by dramatically improving metabolic resilience. From every conceivable angle, biochemical makeup, physiological impact, and sheer practicality, eggs are, without exaggeration, one of the most perfectly designed foods available to humanity. I say this with conviction because when we meticulously examine the precise nutritional demands of the aging body, eggs consistently deliver across multiple critical fronts: unparalleled protein quality, astounding nutrient density, metabolic neutrality, and unmatched convenience. Let's begin with the most immediately obvious, yet deeply significant metric: protein quality. As we advance in age, our bodies naturally experience a progressive and concerning loss of skeletal muscle mass and function, a pervasive condition medically known as sarcopenia. This isn't merely about superficial concerns like appearance or the discomfort of physical frailty. Sarcopenia is directly and powerfully correlated with an increased risk of mortality. In fact, lean muscle mass emerges as one of the most reliable predictors of survival in older adults, not solely due to brute strength, but fundamentally because of its critical role as a metabolic sink. Muscle tissue functions as an incredibly efficient glucose buffer, substantially improving our insulin sensitivity and supplying a continuous reservoir of vital amino acids during periods of heightened stress or illness. To effectively combat sarcopenia, we absolutely require adequate protein. But the nuance here is crucial. It's not just any protein. We need high-quality, maximally bioavailable protein, robustly rich in all essential amino acids, especially leucine, which serves as the primary biochemical trigger for muscle protein synthesis through the critical mTOR pathway. Eggs provide precisely this gold standard nutritional package. A single large egg delivers a remarkable 6 to 7 grams of high biological value protein, boasting one of the very best amino acid scores of any food source. Its leucine content per gram also ranks among the highest. Indeed, the entire whole egg, encompassing both the white and the yolk, has served for decades as the scientific standard in assessing protein quality. When you consume eggs, you're not simply ingesting raw material, you're initiating a profound physiological response, actively signaling the intricate cellular machinery to build and repair. However, focusing solely on protein, as common nutritional discussions often do, presents a limited and potentially misleading picture. A frequent pitfall I observe is the overemphasis of macronutrients at the unintentional expense of critically important micronutrients. This oversight becomes particularly problematic as we age. Given that our nutrient absorption efficiency naturally diminishes, the use of medications often increases, and our physiological demand for certain vital vitamins such as B12, D, and choline notably rises. Yet again, eggs provide an elegant solution. Consider choline. It remains one of the most consistently underappreciated nutrients in mainstream health discussions, despite being unequivocally vital for robust brain health, methylation processes, critical for DNA repair and cellular function, and healthy lipid metabolism. A staggering number of older adults simply don't obtain sufficient choline, especially those who mistakenly avoid animal products or, ironically, egg yolks, based on outdated and now thoroughly debunked fears regarding dietary cholesterol. A solitary large egg yolk contains approximately 125 milligrams of choline, more than twice the amount found in a 3-ounce serving of salmon. Choline is a direct precursor to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter fundamental for memory, attention, and optimal muscle function. It's also indispensable for synthesizing phosphatidylcholine, a key structural component of all cell membranes, particularly in the liver and brain. Deficiencies in choline have clear links to conditions such as fatty liver, cognitive decline, and neural tube defects. Furthermore, eggs are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, two potent carotenoids that specifically concentrate in the retina, providing powerful protection against macular degeneration. Disturbingly, the leading cause of vision loss among seniors. You needn't resort to synthetic supplements for these. Simply consume the yolk. Crucially, the bioavailability of these compounds within eggs is significantly higher than from most plant-based sources, owing to the synergistic fat matrix in which they are naturally embedded. Once more, the form of the nutrient truly matters more than just the raw quantity. Eggs are also abundantly rich in fat-soluble vitamins, including A, D, E, and K2, with a particularly elevated content if they originate from pasture-raised hens. Vitamin D, for example, is notoriously challenging to obtain solely from food, yet eggs offer a small but meaningful contribution, accompanied by the essential cofactors required for its optimal absorption, a detail often overlooked but of immense importance. Now, we absolutely must address the elephant in the room: cholesterol. For decades, eggs were unfairly vilified due to their dietary cholesterol content, typically around 185 milligrams per yolk. The assumption was deceptively simple. More dietary cholesterol inevitably leads to higher blood cholesterol, which in turn supposedly leads to more cardiovascular disease. However, modern scientific understanding has comprehensively debunked this simplistic notion. Our bodies simply do not operate in such a linear fashion. We now unequivocally understand that, for the vast majority of people, dietary cholesterol has a minimal, almost negligible impact on blood cholesterol levels, especially on the critical ApoB-containing lipoproteins, which are the true concern for cardiovascular risk. The body's intricate hepatic LDL receptor pathway plays a far more significant role in robustly regulating cholesterol than the contents of your breakfast plate. In fact, for many individuals, incorporating eggs can paradoxically improve lipid profiles when consumed as part of a diet thoughtfully aligned with lower carbohydrate or ketogenic principles. Eggs can notably increase beneficial HDL cholesterol, promote larger, less harmful LDL particle sizes, and effectively reduce triglycerides. Of course, individual variability exists. A small minority of hyperresponders might show more significant lipid changes with high egg intake, and for them, monitoring would be prudent. But for the overwhelming majority of people, eggs are far from being the dietary enemy. They are a profoundly misunderstood ally. Another remarkable advantage eggs offer is their profound effect on satiety. As we age, our appetite can sometimes diminish, or in other cases, frustratingly shift towards an increased craving for carbohydrate-heavy foods. Eggs prove exceptionally effective at hunger control. They possess a remarkably high satiety index, meaning they promote a feeling of fullness for a much longer duration. This is partly attributable to their excellent protein and healthy fat content, but also critically due to their beneficial impact on crucial gut hormones such as ghrelin, the hunger hormone, and peptide YY. If your priority, particularly as an older adult grappling with prediabetes or full-blown type 2 diabetes, is to expertly manage blood glucose and avert insulin spikes, beginning your day with eggs instead of that seemingly harmless toast or sugary cereal can dramatically improve your post-meal blood glucose response. I have witnessed patients effectively cut their insulin requirements in half simply by strategically replacing their typical carbohydrate-laden breakfast with a simple 2-egg omelette accompanied by avocado. Finally, there's the undeniable issue of practicality. Many of my older patients don't desire a complicated, intricate food strategy. They crave something straightforward that they can easily comprehend, quickly prepare, chew without difficulty, and tolerate comfortably. Eggs unequivocally check every single one of these boxes. They are wonderfully portable, exceptionally simple to cook, and remarkably digestible, even for individuals with compromised dentition or underlying gastrointestinal issues. Scrambled, poached, hard-boiled, or elegantly incorporated into a frittata, eggs adapt effortlessly to nearly any culinary scenario. For those managing limited incomes or navigating fixed budgets, eggs also represent an outstandingly cost-effective nutritional investment. Very few foods offer such a spectacularly high return on health and nutritional value per dollar spent. And what about concerns regarding potential contamination or foodborne illness? These are, frankly, often overblown. While raw or undercooked eggs can theoretically carry salmonella, modern food safety practices have profoundly reduced this risk. For individuals who are severely immunocompromised or exceptionally frail, opting for hard-boiled or fully cooked versions is a wise precaution. But for the vast majority of people, this risk remains negligible, particularly when sourcing from reputable providers. It's paramount to understand that in the sophisticated landscape of nutritional science, context is truly everything. If you consume eggs within the prevailing framework of a standard Western diet, lamentably loaded with refined carbohydrates, inflammatory industrial seed oils, and aggressively ultra-processed junk foods, you simply won't observe the profound benefits I'm articulating. However, when eggs are integrated into the thoughtful context of a nutrient-dense, carbohydrate-controlled, whole food-based diet, they become a foundational pillar. They operate synergistically with other, powerfully longevity-promoting behaviors, such as consistent resistance training, disciplined sleep optimization, and strategic fasting protocols. When you artfully combine these elements, you not only influence, but decisively shift the entire trajectory of aging in a truly profound way, I have had patients in their 70s and 80s exhibit remarkable improvements in their DEXA scan, lean muscle mass, stabilize their HbA1c levels, significantly reduce their medication load, and report tangibly superior cognitive function, all simply by making eggs a consistent, intentional component of their daily diet. And they don't just feel marginally better, they perform definitively better. Their physical strength improves, their balance becomes more assured, and even their mood lifts, thanks to enhanced neurotransmitter availability and profoundly stabilized blood glucose. There's one final yet deeply significant element worth underscoring: the psychological relationship to food. Aging often brings with it a gradual narrowing of choices, dietary restrictions, necessary medications, alterations in taste or smell. Eggs, in contrast, offer a profound sense of continuity, comfort, and familiarity. There's deep behavioral value in consuming foods that feel safe, universally enjoyable, and comforting. From a compliance perspective, this matters just as much, if not more, than the biochemistry. So, where does this exhaustive analysis leave us? It firmly establishes the humble egg as a food that unequivocally deserves a starring central role in any meaningful conversation about longevity-focused nutrition. Not because it's fashionable, not because it conforms to some rigid ideological framework, but quite simply because it works. Eggs are profoundly dense in everything we vitally need more of: high-quality protein, indispensable choline, protective carotenoids, and a spectrum of essential vitamins, and remarkably devoid of what we critically need less of: processed sugars, refined carbohydrates, and inflammatory compounds. They are a powerful tool to preserve lean muscle mass, stabilize energy levels with graceful precision, robustly support optimal brain health, and foster profound, lasting satiety. They achieve all of this with remarkable efficiency, at an economical cost, and with unwavering reliability. It's extraordinarily easy to overcomplicate nutrition, especially when considering the intricate demands of aging. Yet, sometimes, the truly potent answer isn't found in another trendy supplement or some obscure, exotic superfood. Sometimes, it is as profoundly simple and transformative as mindfully incorporating 2 or 3 high-quality eggs into your daily routine and moving forward with purpose. That is not merely nutrition, that is a powerful, elegant strategy, and for anyone earnestly committed to extending their health span, it is one undeniably worth embracing. When we embark on the crucial discussion of low-carb, zero-sugar foods that genuinely impact metabolic health and dramatically advance longevity, particularly for our maturing populations, few sources are as persistently overlooked and profoundly underappreciated as sardines. And this is truly an immense missed opportunity, because from the perspective of pure nutritional density, sardines meticulously hit almost every target that genuinely matters. They are remarkably high in bioavailable protein, extraordinarily rich in those elusive long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, and densely packed with an array of micronutrients that are fundamental in supporting robust cardiovascular health, strengthening bone density, optimizing immune function, and even powerfully preserving cognitive vitality. The undeniable starting point for any serious discussion about sardines must be their exceptional omega-3 content, specifically EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. These are not the less efficient plant-based precursors like alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, which demand an enzymatic conversion process that becomes progressively inefficient as we age. No, we are talking about direct, immediately ready-to-use EPA and DHA, the foundational fatty acids that exquisitely modulate everything from systemic inflammation throughout the body to the critical fluidity of our cell membranes and the very expression of our genes. Most people, even those who occasionally consume fish, barely achieve optimal levels of these indispensable fats. Yet, EPA and DHA are unequivocally critical for reducing dangerous triglyceride levels, enhancing vital endothelial function, the inner lining of blood vessels, and significantly lowering the risk of sudden cardiac events. Furthermore, they exert powerful anti-arrhythmic effects and contribute to the stabilization of heart rate variability, which we now definitively understand is a profound biomarker of the health and inherent resilience of our autonomic nervous system. Now, when our focus narrows specifically to older adults, particularly those aged 60 and above, these multifaceted benefits become even more clinically compelling and relevant. Systemic inflammation, often referred to as inflammaging, intrinsically increases with age. It's a subtle, chronic, low-grade but persistently present force that regrettably accelerates virtually everything from the insidious progression of atherosclerosis to debilitating cognitive decline. EPA and DHA powerfully blunt this damaging signal. They precisely downregulate NF-κB, effectively reduce pro-inflammatory cytokines, and meticulously help shift the body's entire lipid mediator profile towards the active resolution of inflammation, rather than its continuous propagation. This precision matters immeasurably, especially when individuals are contending with prevalent comorbidities such as type 2 diabetes, hypertension, or metabolic syndrome. Sardines stand out as one of the most exquisitely efficient and effective delivery systems for these critical fatty acids, circumventing both the oxidative instability often associated with certain supplements and the concerning mercury risk inherent with larger, higher trophic level fish like tuna. There's also the vital matter of protein. Each small can of sardines, approximately 3.5 ounces, delivers a robust 20 to 25 grams of high-quality, complete protein. And just like eggs, sardines provide an excellent dose of leucine, the primary amino acid trigger for stimulating muscle protein synthesis. We know through extensive research that aging inherently blunts the muscle-building response to protein, a pervasive phenomenon termed anabolic resistance. Therefore, older adults don't just require more protein, they crucially need it more frequently and sourced from origins that powerfully activate the mTOR pathway. Sardines precisely achieve this. They are conveniently easy to chew and digest, and because of their remarkable nutrient density, they don't necessitate the consumption of large, unwieldy volumes of food to deliver their potent effect. Let's shift our attention to calcium, a concern frequently voiced among aging populations, particularly for postmenopausal women concerned about osteoporosis. Bone density naturally declines with age, and fracture risk ominously increases, with the conventional intervention typically gravitating towards calcium supplements or dairy products. However, sardines present a superior, inherently more bioavailable solution. When you thoughtfully consume sardines with their soft, entirely edible bones, you're not just receiving a substantial quantity of naturally occurring calcium. More crucially, you're receiving it synergistically packaged with vitamin D, phosphorus, and magnesium, the essential cofactors intrinsically required for the proper absorption and optimal utilization of calcium by the body. Furthermore, you skillfully circumvent the potential risks associated with calcium supplementation alone, which in certain studies has unfortunately been linked to undesirable arterial calcification and an increased cardiovascular risk when consumed in isolation. The impressive micronutrient profile of sardines doesn't cease there. These tiny fish are rich in selenium, a powerful antioxidant that proficiently aids in regenerating glutathione, the body's master antioxidant, and providing formidable protection against pervasive oxidative stress. They also generously provide a meaningful dose of vitamin B12, which unequivocally supports optimal methylation pathways, robust red blood cell production, and vital neurological function. Again, these are all critical nutrients for aging adults who are frequently deficient due to a common decline in gastric acid production and impaired intrinsic factor function. We even find a significant presence of vitamin K2, another persistently underappreciated nutrient profoundly involved in directing calcium precisely to bones, rather than inadvertently allowing its accumulation in arteries. And here's a critical aspect often completely overlooked. Sardines are typically canned at their source, often within mere hours of being caught. This swift processing implies minimal intervention, no time for problematic rancidity, and exceptionally little nutrient degradation. Contrast this pristine profile with many commercial fish oils or highly processed food products where rampant oxidation and questionable quality control are genuine and prevalent concerns. With sardines, you are consuming an inherently whole, intact food in its beautifully natural form, with the added, unparalleled benefits of being remarkably shelf-stable, supremely portable, and astonishingly cost-effective. I often discuss the intricate intersection between inherent nutritional value and vital behavioral compliance. Regardless of how nutritionally perfect a food may appear on paper, it simply holds no real value if people consistently refuse to incorporate it into their diet. This is precisely where sardines occasionally face a pervasive image problem. Some individuals genuinely dislike the texture, others are put off by the perceived smell. However, once you deeply internalize and understand the immense health return on investment, ROI, these humble fish offer, that initial psychological barrier invariably begins to recede. My pragmatic advice: start simply. Opt for sardines packed in high-quality olive oil, explicitly avoiding soybean or sunflower oils, and thoughtfully incorporate them into a vibrant salad or pair them with creamy avocado. Over time, your palate remarkably adapts, and the compounding benefits are profoundly immediate. So, if you are meticulously constructing a foundational nutritional framework for someone in their 60s, 70s, or even beyond, an individual who desperately needs to actively maintain lean muscle mass, rigorously reduce pervasive inflammation, powerfully protect their invaluable brain, and meticulously keep their heart functioning in perfect rhythm, then sardines are, without doubt, a food that warrants a permanent central spot on their plate. Not because they are currently trendy or appear exotic, but precisely because they perform. They are metabolically silent, biologically dense, and physiologically efficient. And when the unwavering pursuit is longevity, that is the exact essence of what you should tirelessly seek. When you objectively filter food choices through the rigorous lens of actual nutrient density, demanding measurable per-calorie efficiency, remarkably few foods can genuinely compete with beef liver. Yet, despite its unparalleled nutritional profile, it remains one of the most consistently neglected and misunderstood foods in the contemporary diet. We, as a society, have regrettably drifted so far from ancestral eating patterns, and in doing so, we have inadvertently cast aside some of the most biochemically potent and fundamental tools readily available to us for optimal health. Beef liver isn't a fleeting trend or a fashionable superfood. It is an undeniable metabolic and nutritional powerhouse, uniquely positioned to robustly support virtually every system in the human body, particularly as we age, when vital micronutrient demands inherently increase and absorption efficiency inevitably decreases. In this crucial context, liver gracefully transcends being a mere optional dietary add-on and ascends to the status of a strategic, indispensable nutritional intervention. Let's begin with vitamin A, and to be unequivocally clear, I'm referring not to beta-carotene, the plant-based precursor which is often poorly converted in many individuals, but to true preformed retinol. Liver stands as the single most concentrated natural source of this exquisitely bioavailable vitamin, which plays an absolutely essential role in pristine vision, formidable immune function, radiant skin health, and crucial gene transcription. For seniors, the implications of its presence are profoundly significant. Surprisingly, vitamin A deficiency is uncommonly widespread in older populations, particularly among those who exhibit fat malabsorption or maintain a low dietary intake of animal products. While excessive vitamin A intake can theoretically lead to toxicity, this virtually only occurs with chronic, indiscriminate supplementation, not through the judicious, reasonable dietary intake of whole foods like liver. Just 1 to 2 thoughtful servings per week typically provides ample retinol to thoroughly meet physiological needs without any risk of overload. Then there's B12, arguably the most critically important B vitamin, specifically when discussing the dynamics of aging. B12 deficiency can frighteningly mimic dementia, inducing profound fatigue, noticeable cognitive slowing, painful neuropathy, and even unsettling psychiatric symptoms. And here's the deeply problematic issue. As we age, our inherent ability to effectively extract B12 from the foods we consume diminishes significantly, primarily due to lower stomach acid production and a reduction in vital intrinsic factor, making older adults inherently much higher risk for deficiency. Liver offers an extraordinarily dense source of B12, surpassing muscle meat exponentially, and crucially, in a form that is immediately and fully bioavailable to the body. I have personally observed patients discontinue the necessity for B12 injections simply by strategically adding a few ounces of liver per week into their diet. Iron represents another pivotal player in this nutritional symphony. And again, we are not speaking of the iron commonly found in heavily fortified cereals or generic multivitamins, which is often poorly absorbed and, in some contexts, can even be inflammatory. No, we're focusing on heme iron, the kind of iron that the body effortlessly recognizes, efficiently absorbs, and effectively transports for immediate utilization. Iron deficiency anemia persists as a significant health issue among older adults, especially in postmenopausal women or individuals struggling with chronic gastrointestinal issues. Simultaneously, however, the risk of iron overload, particularly in men or those with specific hemochromatosis gene mutations, is also a concern. This duality underscores precisely why food-based sources like liver are immeasurably superior. The iron arrives perfectly packaged with essential cofactors such as copper, vitamin A, and B12, all of which operate in brilliant synergy to facilitate optimal red blood cell production and mitochondrial respiration. Speaking of copper, liver stands as one of the exceedingly few foods that generously provides it in meaningful, perfectly balanced amounts. Most people rightly prioritize iron, but regrettably neglect copper, despite their profound metabolic intertwining. A deficiency in copper can paradoxically impair iron metabolism, significantly increase oxidative stress, and even contribute to alarming cardiovascular dysfunction. Yet again, liver provides this critical mineral in harmonious balance alongside zinc and selenium, two additional trace minerals fundamentally essential for robust immune function, sophisticated antioxidant defense mechanisms, and optimal thyroid health. Choline, a champion among nutrients, makes another appearance. It is absolutely essential for complex methylation pathways, vital acetylcholine synthesis, remember that crucial neurotransmitter, healthy liver function, and holistic brain health. Most individuals consistently fall short of adequate choline intake, and while eggs are indeed an excellent source, liver surprisingly contains even more per gram. This concentrated availability becomes particularly important for older adults earnestly striving to prevent or profoundly slow the insidious process of neurodegeneration. Choline deficiency actively contributes to fatty liver, measurable cognitive impairment, and elevated homocysteine levels, all undeniable risk factors for both cardiovascular and neurological diseases. And finally, we possess folate. Not folic acid, which is the synthetic form frequently added to processed foods and some supplements, but the natural, highly bioactive form of folate. Liver is unquestionably one of the richest natural food sources, and it comes perfectly bundled with B6 and B12, constituting the complete methylation triad of vitamins. This biochemical trio is profoundly crucial for meticulously managing homocysteine levels, expertly supporting neurotransmitter synthesis, and vigilantly maintaining DNA integrity. For anyone grappling with the complexities of cognitive decline, struggling with mood disorders, or facing increased cardiovascular risk, optimal folate status is not merely an optional consideration. It is quite literally foundational. I fully comprehend that for many people, liver might not initially strike you as the most appetizing food choice. It certainly possesses a distinct, assertive flavor and an unusual texture, and it undoubtedly carries some historical and cultural baggage. But here is the crucial demand. We must learn to bravely separate our subjective emotions from the objective, compelling scientific data. And the data regarding liver is undeniably overwhelming. Merely a few ounces of liver, consumed mindfully once or twice per week, possesses the transformative power to correct or decisively prevent deficiencies that would otherwise demand a confusing array of multiple costly supplements, each with their own inherent compliance issues and variability in absorption. There is undoubtedly a psychological threshold to courageously overcome when introducing liver into your diet. But once you skillfully integrate it into your routine, the return on investment is truly monumental. I have witnessed patients experience profound improvements in their energy levels, achieve remarkably stabilized moods, completely reverse long-standing anemia, and even attain dramatically improved sleep quality, all directly attributable to simply reintroducing this one potent food. For those who absolutely cannot tolerate consuming it whole, desiccated liver capsules are a viable alternative, though I consistently advocate for the unparalleled benefits of the real, whole food version whenever logistically possible. If sustainability or ethical sourcing is a consideration, grass-fed beef liver is widely accessible and almost always remarkably affordable, often far more so than the vast majority of commercial protein supplements or so-called superfoods. Liver won't single-handedly replace every nutritional requirement, but it bridges an incredibly wide range of critical micronutrient gaps with unparalleled efficiency. For older adults, intelligently navigating the challenges of fatigue, subtle cognitive changes, diminished resilience, and slower recovery, beef liver represents one of the most strategically astute additions you can possibly make to a no-sugar, no-refined carb, profoundly nutrient-dense nutritional framework. It's not glamorous, no, but it is undeniably powerful. And in a world that has largely forgotten the true, profound capabilities of real, ancestral food, liver quietly and consistently continues to outperform, proving its timeless worth. When you begin to diligently filter the endless array of food choices through the multifaceted lens of optimal metabolic health, profound satiety, concentrated micronutrient density, and vital hormonal stability, a perspective particularly critical for older adults, you swiftly recognize that the majority of our contemporary food environment regrettably fails us. The average modern meal, engineered for convenience, frequently spikes glucose levels, triggers excessive insulin responses, conspicuously fails to deliver essential nutrients, and disappointingly leaves you feeling hungry again a mere 2 hours later. But then, almost like discovering hidden gold, you encounter foods such as avocados that precisely do the opposite. They resolutely do not spike your blood sugar, they do not flood your delicate system with glucose or inflammatory seed oils. Instead, avocados offer a profoundly dense, naturally harmonious matrix of monounsaturated fats, dietary fiber, and a treasure trove of micronutrients working in quiet yet undeniably powerful ways to actively support the very systems that unfortunately tend to decline with age. Our exquisite insulin sensitivity, our vital cardiovascular integrity, robust brain function, and predictable digestive regularity. Let's begin by examining their exceptional macronutrient composition. A single medium-sized avocado contains approximately 20 grams of healthy fat, with the predominant portion being oleic acid, a renowned monounsaturated fatty acid famously also found in high-quality olive oil. Oleic acid plays a crucial role in maintaining optimal cell membrane fluidity and has been scientifically demonstrated to effectively reduce inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein. It has undergone extensive research for its remarkable effects on lipoproteins, particularly for its singular ability to significantly improve HDL functionality and reduce the number of small, dense LDL particles, which are the more profoundly atherogenic artery-clogging variety. For someone in their 60s or 70s, earnestly seeking to optimize cardiovascular health without the undesirable downside of glucose excursions or triglyceride surges, this is precisely the optimal type of fat we actively seek to integrate into the diet. The healthy fats within avocados also perform another critically important function. they play an indispensable role in nutrient absorption. Many essential vitamins, A, D, E, and K, are inherently fat-soluble, meaning their optimal uptake and utilization by the body absolutely necessitate the presence of dietary fat. Therefore, adding a perfectly ripe avocado to a fresh salad isn't just about enhancing its flavor, it significantly amplifies the bioavailability and absorption of crucial carotenoids such as lutein and beta-carotene. In fact, compelling studies indicate up to a remarkable 15-fold increase in the absorption of these compounds when avocado is present in a meal compared to when it's absent. This phenomenon holds immense significance, particularly for aging adults striving to diligently maintain visual acuity, uphold neurological resilience, and bolster robust immune function. However, what truly elevates avocados to a unique echelon, even beyond their impressive fat profile, is the synergistic combination of their exceptionally high fiber content and their profoundly low glycemic load. A single avocado generously delivers approximately 13 to 14 grams of dietary fiber, with the majority derived from insoluble forms that elegantly add bulk and vigorously support bowel motility, thereby remarkably reducing the often debilitating risk of constipation. Simultaneously, it provides vital soluble fibers that serve as potent prebiotics, the essential fuel for our complex gut microbiota. We now unequivocally understand that robust gut health intrinsically intersects with virtually every system within the body. Short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, such as butyrate, propionate, and acetate, which are exquisitely produced when our beneficial gut bacteria ferment soluble fiber, are not merely inert waste products. They actively function as powerful signaling molecules. Butyrate, in particular, has been shown to powerfully support the health of colonocytes, dramatically reduce systemic inflammation, and elegantly modulate immune function. This impact transcends mere digestive regularity. It's about diligently maintaining a low inflammatory tone throughout the entire body, which becomes more challenging but also more critically important with advancing age. Yet, the average older adult consumes far less than the recommended daily fiber intake, a shortfall that lamentably contributes to everything from chronic constipation and dysbiosis to widespread glucose intolerance and dangerously elevated LDL avocados. Avocados adeptly bridge that nutritional gap without the inherent trade-off that plagues most other high-fiber foods. Typical options like beans, oats, and whole grains, while potentially beneficial for younger, insulin-sensitive individuals, frequently pose metabolic challenges for older adults already experiencing impaired glucose tolerance or outright insulin resistance. Avocados elegantly deliver their generous fiber content without any glycemic penalty. Their impact on post-meal blood glucose is effectively neutral, and in many cases, the strategic addition of avocado to a carbohydrate-containing meal effectively blunts the glucose response of the entire meal, primarily due to delayed gastric emptying and beneficial modulation of gut hormones like GIP and GLP-1. And then there's potassium, a vital mineral most people instinctively associate with bananas, but which is remarkably found in far greater concentrations within avocados. A single avocado provides approximately 700 to 900 milligrams of potassium, which is undeniably crucial for meticulous blood pressure regulation, optimal nerve conduction, and efficient muscle contraction. Consistently high potassium intake, particularly in careful proportion to sodium intake, is reliably associated with a reduced cardiovascular risk. This vital balance becomes even more profoundly important in aging populations where arterial stiffness intrinsically increases and the looming risk of hypertension significantly escalates. Avocados supply this indispensable potassium within a synergistic food matrix that consistently supports rather than undermines delicate metabolic control. Magnesium is another critically important micronutrient generously supplied in meaningful amounts by avocados. It acts as an essential cofactor in over 300 enzymatic reactions throughout the body, including those profoundly involved in glucose regulation, vital mitochondrial function, and crucial protein synthesis. Disturbingly, Magnesium deficiency is rampant within the general population, but particularly prevalent among older adults, stemming from both lower dietary intake and unfortunately increased renal excretion as we age. The cascading downstream effects of such a deficiency are undeniably serious, ranging from insulin resistance and troublesome arrhythmias to debilitating muscle cramps and even severe sleep disruption. Thoughtfully incorporating a food like avocado helps to restore this delicate balance naturally, negating the constant need for yet another supplemental pill. One final, yet crucially important consideration is compliance. Dietary interventions are only effective if they are truly sustainable. Older adults often face unique barriers to consistency, including reduced appetite, dental issues, medication-induced nausea, or even profound food fatigue. Avocados, in their wisdom, are wonderfully soft, incredibly palatable, and exquisitely versatile. They can be consumed plain, effortlessly mashed, generously spread, artfully added to salads or smoothies, or strategically paired with high-quality protein sources like eggs or salmon to craft a complete, metabolically sound and satisfying meal. They are also powerfully satiating thanks to their superb combination of healthy fats and fiber, which intelligently helps to prevent uncontrolled grazing and admirably supports caloric control without the sense of deprivation. What avocados purposefully don't contain is just as important. No added sugar, no unnecessary starch, no inflammatory seed oils, and no significant concentrations of problematic anti-nutrients. This impeccably clean profile renders them exceptionally valuable in nutritional strategies precisely aimed at reversing insidious insulin resistance, vigorously supporting comprehensive cardiovascular health, or simply holistically optimizing the intricate physiology of aging. In a contemporary food landscape where the vast majority of items either directly harm our metabolic health or disappointingly offer no beneficial support whatsoever, avocados singularly stand out. They are profoundly nutrient-dense without being overly energy-dense. They are remarkably low glycemic without being restrictive. And they provide foundational systemic support for the very physiological systems that demand the most attentive care as we navigate the journey of aging. In any thoughtfully designed, carbohydrate-restricted, nutrient-focused diet for enduring longevity, avocados are not merely an option. They are a deeply strategic and indispensable cornerstone. When we embark on the rigorous assessment of nutritional interventions capable of measurably impacting longevity, focusing not just on merely extending lifespan, but fundamentally expanding health span, wild-caught salmon demands a preeminent position at the very top of that list. It is truly no hyperbole to declare it longevity in a fillet. This extraordinary fish ticks virtually every essential box we prioritize for enduring vitality. It is profoundly dense in long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, exceptionally high in bioavailable protein, rich with a wide spectrum of critical micronutrients, remarkably low in undesirable toxins, and uniquely potent in skillfully countering several key mechanisms of aging, from systemic inflammation and mitochondrial decline to insidious cognitive deterioration and debilitating cardiovascular dysfunction. For older adults, specifically those committed to zealously preserving lean muscle mass, protecting cognitive sharpness, and maintaining exquisite metabolic flexibility without unduly increasing glycemic load, wild-caught salmon arguably stands as one of the most remarkably efficient and powerful tools currently at our disposal. Let us commence with its unparalleled omega-3 profile. Wild-caught salmon consistently ranks as one of the richest natural dietary sources of both EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. These two long-chain fatty acids perform central, indispensable roles in gracefully reducing inflammation, elegantly modulating complex cell signaling pathways, and meticulously maintaining the crucial structural integrity of our neuronal and mitochondrial membranes. EPA, notably, functions as a potent anti-inflammatory compound, serving as a direct precursor to specialized pro-resolving mediators like resolvins and protectins, sophisticated lipid molecules that actively resolve inflammation rather than simply suppressing it. DHA, on the other hand, is absolutely critical for optimal neuronal function, profoundly influencing everything from the dynamic plasticity of synapses to the diligent prevention of insidious neurodegenerative processes, such as beta-amyloid aggregation. For an aging adult, this nutritional contribution is not merely a desirable nice-to-have. It is unequivocally an essential fortress against the two most formidable threats to a high quality of life: chronic inflammation and neurological decline. There is also an indisputably profound cardiovascular benefit attributed to the regular and thoughtful intake of fatty fish like wild salmon. Numerous comprehensive studies, including expansive prospective cohort studies and meticulously designed randomized controlled trials, have consistently demonstrated that higher EPA and DHA intake is compellingly associated with reduced triglyceride levels, significantly improved endothelial function, a healthier resting heart rate, and a dramatically decreased risk of sudden cardiac death. Crucially, these life-affirming effects appear to be even more pronounced in older adults and those already contending with metabolic syndrome, likely because they begin with higher levels of baseline inflammation and more problematic lipid profiles. Unlike conventional statins, which operate through a very specific and occasionally problematic mechanism, omega-3s exert broad systemic effects without compromising precious muscle function, optimal glucose metabolism, or vital mitochondrial output. Now let's pivot to protein. A single 6-ounce fillet of wild-caught salmon provides a substantial 35 to 40 grams of complete, exceptionally highly bioavailable protein, an amount often sufficient to meet or even exceed the crucial anabolic threshold required for robustly stimulating muscle protein synthesis in the vast majority of older adults, especially when thoughtfully paired with strategic resistance training. As we gracefully age, our bodies inherently become less responsive to protein intake, a pervasive physiological phenomenon accurately termed anabolic resistance. This simply means that we don't just require adequate protein. We necessitate strategically timed, meticulously high-quality protein sources that deliver sufficient amounts of leucine and other essential amino acids to successfully overcome this resistance and diligently maintain precious lean muscle mass. Wild salmon effortlessly delivers on this critical demand, all without the undesirable insulinogenic spike that typically comes from carbohydrate-based meals or the often inflammatory baggage inherent in processed meats. But the magnificent story of wild salmon doesn't conclude with merely protein and healthy fats. Wild salmon is also an unjustly underappreciated source of an array of other critical micronutrients, most notably selenium, vitamin B12, vitamin D, and astaxanthin. Selenium is fundamentally essential for the optimal function of glutathione peroxidase, thereby vigorously supporting antioxidant defenses and precise thyroid regulation. Vitamin B12, as we've discussed, is foundational for healthy methylation, pristine neurological health, and robust red blood cell formation, especially paramount for seniors, where intrinsic factor production regrettably often declines. Vitamin D, as widely known, transcends its vitamin classification, acting more as a hormone with far-reaching effects on meticulous immune regulation, formidable bone health, and even profound mood stabilization. And then there's astaxanthin, a unique carotenoid found abundantly in wild salmon, but conspicuously absent in farmed varieties, that boasts intensely potent antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, skillfully protecting precious lipids from destructive oxidation and profoundly supporting mitochondrial function in high-energy demand tissues like our invaluable brain, diligent heart, and powerful muscles. Another key distinguishing point: Wild-caught salmon is inherently a low-toxin food. In stark contrast to farm-raised salmon, which often contains problematic residues of antibiotics concerning PCBs and is frequently artificially colored, wild salmon is intrinsically cleaner, naturally pigmented by its astaxanthin-rich diet, and meticulously raised within the pristine environment in which it naturally evolved. This distinction is immensely significant if you are thoughtfully consuming a food for its explicit longevity benefits. You demand the full spectrum of its advantages without the chronic exposure to compounds that can sadly degrade vital mitochondrial function or significantly impair crucial detoxification pathways within your body. And compliance, always an indispensable filter in any sound nutrition plan, is surprisingly high with salmon. It's wonderfully palatable, remarkably versatile, and effortlessly easy to prepare. Consuming it isn't a chore. Most people genuinely enjoy it, whether expertly grilled, gently baked, or even enjoyed raw as exquisite sashimi. This inherent enjoyability makes it more than theoretically optimal. It renders it practically sustainable. You don't need to laboriously convince someone to eat it for years on end. You merely need to cultivate the positive habit and gracefully integrate it into a regular dietary rotation. Just a couple of servings per week is more than sufficient to decisively shift omega-3 status in the right direction, consistently support optimal protein intake, and skillfully fill in crucial micronutrient gaps. So, when I deeply reflect on which foods I would conscientiously include in the diet of a 70-year-old committed to resolutely maintaining functional capacity into their 80s and 90s, wild-caught salmon consistently makes that critical list.